Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of Quispamsis for Tuesday, December 9th. That being, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Mark?
On that motion, can I make a motion to change B to C? Make it our final one of the night?
Number 7?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm in agreement. Everyone else in agreement with that? Perfect. Thank you. That will move that.
So moved.
All right. Brenda? Oh, Mark seconded it. Thank you, Mark. May we have a vote, please?
My vote is yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark.
Brenda? Who made that motion, Brenda?
Brent. She's getting updated. You got Mark, okay? Mark Goslin. That motion's carried unanimously. With that being, we'll move on to item 3, disclosures of interest. None being, we'll move on to item 4, approval of previous minutes. Can I have any amendments to the minutes? None being, can I have a motion to approve, please? Mark Hatfield,
So moved.
second that, Brenda?
I'll second that.
Thank you. That being, we have a vote on that, please.
My vote is yes again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. That motion's carried unanimously. That being, we'll move on to item 5, business arising from minutes. Can I have a motion to receive and file, please?
So moved.
Brent, seconder, Mr. Guest?
I'll second that.
Thank you. That being, we have a vote on that?
Yes again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That motion's carried unanimously. With that being, move on to item 6, unfinished business. None being, that allows us to move on to 7, new business. Item 7A, 221 Hampton Road. Could the applicant please come up to the podium and state their name for the record?
Dino Sapola.
Mr. Sapola, we're going to have Jennifer's going to introduce that item for us. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the committee members. As you may recall, at the last PAC meeting, you approved a food truck for the location of 221 Hampton Road as a temporary use for Friday and Saturday evenings. The times approved was from 4 until 10 p.m. At that time, it was understood by staff that there wasn't going to be any combustible material, not materials, but like gasoline or propane as a energy source for the food truck. However, it was discovered that there was a bit of a miscommunication between myself and the applicant, and that there actually is going to be, the food truck actually is powered by a gas generator. So with that, the item is back before you because one of the conditions was that if a gas generator was going to be introduced, that PAC needed to also approve that, and it needed to be reviewed by the fire department. So here we are, and we did ask for the fire department to review, and they did provide some conditions as well as a fact sheet for your review and information. One thing that we did sort of discover out of this process with the introduction of the generator was a concern around the noise that it may produce. So we referred back to the noise bylaw, number, I believe it's 36. However, in there, it does identify a commercial vehicle and being able to generate not a disturbance or excess noise, but it's allowed to be in operation until 9 p.m. So staff are recommending that the PAC revise the opening hours from 4 to 9 p.m. so it's in line with the noise bylaw. Just going through to make sure that I've hit all the main points. Now, the fire department did supply a site plan. They've identified an area where they'd like to see the food truck located, so that's also a recommendation for a term and condition. The fact sheet did point out that the food truck would need to be 20 feet from, or 6 meters from any structure, so this location that's been identified does meet that. I'm available to answer any questions the committee might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mr. Spola, you would have received the same information we didn't mail. Anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to receiving any questions from members of PAC or the public?
I'm sorry, I'm
Would you-
having hearing issues.
Would you like, anything you'd like to add prior to any questions coming from PAC or the
No,
members of
it's
the public?
whatever PAC recommends, I'm 100%
Perfect. Okay.
ready to work with you.
Any members of PAC have any questions for the applicant? None being, is there, oh, Kendall?
I'll put a motion for
I'll
it.
just wait, yeah, I gotta, hang on. Is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time. Anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions? Kendall?
Thanks. I recommend Planning Advisory Committee approve the use of a gas-powered generator as a power source for the approved temporary use of a food truck at 221 Hampton Road, PIDs 251736 and 62430, subject to the following terms and conditions. Number one, the food truck must be a minimum of 6 meters, 20 feet away from any structure. Number two, the food truck shall be parked in a position so as not to block any fire lanes. Number three, a portable fire extinguisher, minimum size of 2A, 10 BC, must be located in the kitchen area of the food truck while in operation on the subject lot. Number four, the operator of the food truck adheres to all applicable National Fire Code Fire Protection Association codes as identified in the food truck safety fact sheet. Number five, the food truck is sited on the lot as recommended by the Kennebecasis Valley Fire Department attached hereto as Schedule A. Number six, the hours of operation are Friday and Saturday, 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And number seven, all other terms and conditions as identified in a notice of decision dated November 26, 2025 remain in effect.
Thank you, Kendall. Can I have a seconder on that? Mr. Hatfield?
Second?
Any debate on that motion? None being, we have a vote on that, please.
Mr. Chairman, I support this motion.
That motion's carried unanimously. In 5 to 7 business days, you have a letter in the mail with the approval to have that generator as per the PAC package. Best of luck, Mrs. Sapola, and good luck with your food truck.
Sorry for the confusion last week.
It's all good.
We couldn't speak and whatever, but he texted me and I had a way to communicate.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
but anyway, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being, we're gonna move on to now, we're talking about 7C, which is moved to 7B, Woodley Park subdivision. And I believe, can the applicant come up to the podium, state their name for the record, please? Yeah, Mr. Toole, we're gonna have, Dwight's gonna introduce that item for us. Dwight?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to
Oh,
planning.
Dwight, before you get going, I'll just want to maybe reiterate, I know there's guests here. The planning process with this is we're going to allow guests to speak a maximum of 10 minutes on the subject that we're talking about, not any other phase of the subdivision, on this actual phase, this tentative plan, in reference to anything on this tentative plans. So we're going to allow 10 minutes for anyone speaking for or against the item, and then we'll have further discussions with the applicant after. Sorry, Dwight, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Planning Advisory Committee. So the subdivision plan for Woodley Park Phase 29 has been submitted. PAC may recall that this came to them in July and then subsequently went to council in August. The motion of council at the time was that the concerns of the residents as well as the plan be referred back to staff to work with the developer or the applicant to address the concerns that were expressed. Those were regarding stormwater, clarification on the model that was used in terms of the stormwater management as well as the street grade. At that time, it was 12%. Subsequent to the motion of council, the applicant, the developer decided to step back and say, let's revisit the design with respect to the street grade and as well as to seek some just clarification in terms of the overall stormwater management plan. So what's being presented to you through this process tonight is the revised subdivision plan, and PAC will have an opportunity to review and ask questions regarding that. So the plan comes before the Planning Advisory Committee in accordance with the Community Planning Act to look at, because it proposes the creation of public streets as well as land for public purposes under the Community Planning Act. PAC must review and provide recommendations with regards to the suitability of the streets as proposed, as well as the land for public purposes. The plan also requires consideration of variances. Those variances are with respect to 3 lot variances, 4 lot variances, and those are what we consider minor in terms of they're associated with the actual lot width, and that's reflection of the location of those lots relative to the cul-de-sac. So they're located sort of on the curved portion of the cul-de-sac as well as the curved portion of Westridge. The other variance that is being sought is a street grade variance. This particular case, the street grade for a portion of Westridge is 10%. That particularly runs from essentially a lot 13 to a lot 25 prior to coming into that particular area. So the portion of the street from Queensberry going into Westridge, the grade is 8% or just under 8%, I believe it is 7.4, somewhere around there. And then the upper portion has, again, a grade that's less than 10% as it ties back into the existing portion of Westridge. What's identified on the current plan for Donry Court, which was previously Redon Court in the previous plan, is at 8%, which means those meet the bylaw requirements. The bylaw allows PAC to grant a variance up to 10%, subject to giving consideration to the topography of the land, the suitability, the proposed lot suitability for the intended use, the street intersections, as well as connectivity to the overall area. And allows for convenient further subdividing of the lands. PAC committee shall also ensure appropriate connections as provided to adjacent properties and development. So this particular subdivision will see the connection of the existing portion of Westridge down to Queensberry, as well as which provides an alternate route through Grafton as well in that particular upper area. The other variances with respect to the subdivision bylaw requires that as it currently sits in terms of the standard is that if it's more than 6%, then the stormwater management component should be piped. However, it does allow for PAC to give considerations to alternate measures. In this particular case, the measure is open ditches with riprap rock line ditches for stability, as well as the open ditches provide for more capacity in terms of the water storage and flow through that particular area. When we look at this particular portion in terms of stormwater management, we have to go back to what the current standard is. So as indicated through my staff report, the current standard in terms of stormwater management with respect to the subdivision bylaw and specifications is 1 to 100 years. That is the standard that has been adopted and presented through council through the subdivision bylaw. The engineering department has a guidance to developers and their engineering consultants, make reference to the 1 in 100 year, but the guidance and recommendation is that be increased to 1 in 100 year plus 20%. We also make recommendation or guidance that the design should follow the City of St. John design criteria in the absence of such a document for the municipality. So in this particular case, the stormwater model was run at obviously in excess of the 1 in 100 year storm that currently is in the subdivision bylaw. It was run in excess of the 1 in 100 plus 20% based on the design brief that was presented with the actual engineered document. It was using climate data scaled out to 2051. What it presented was that the stormwater management model demonstrated a reduction in flows post-development versus pre-development, which means that it meets the requirements of the current subdivision bylaw for which the town has adopted under the current standards. So given the fact that the design, though it has open ditches, riprap for stability and erosion control and velocity control, it does provide a solution that meets the intent of the bylaw to ensure there is at least a meeting of pre versus post. In this case, it's a reduction, as indicated and shown in my staff report. For that portion of Westridge to Queensberry, the reduction is about in the order of 50 to 54%. And at the outlet from the pond, it's about, in a 5-year storm, it's 1%, and a 100-year storm, it's 4%. The reason these reference 5-year and 100-year is because that is the current standard that is within our subdivision bylaw. In terms of the street grade, there was, subsequent to the motion of council in August, we did reach back out to the Kennebecasis Fire Department. We did receive correspondence regarding their recommendations with respect to street grades in excess of what is 8% in the bylaw, which can go, as I mentioned, up to 10%. In essence, the recommendations of the Kennebecasis Fire Department was that the goal is to ensure that we keep grades as close as we can to 8%, obviously recognizing that there are existing streets within in Quispam as well as Rothsay, so in basically the valley. There are streets that are more than 8%, and it does present in terms of some operational challenges. However, they adjust their operations accordingly, recognizing that these do exist. The recommendation that came back was that if there's opportunity to reduce the grades, to get them as close as possible to the 8%, then that was their recommendation. And it's one of the reasons why the developer decided to step back and look at how much they could reduce that particular grade of the portion of Westridge that is seeking the variance. That has been provided in my staff report. So if PAC has any questions regarding that, it can be open for discussion.
Thank you, Dwight. Mr. Toole, you would receive the same package we did in the mail. Anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to members of PAC or members of the public asking some questions?
No, I feel like Dwight did a great job presenting it. I would gladly answer any questions, but we're in.
Perfect. Any members of PAC have any questions for the applicant?
Can you just walk us through 1 minute the design of the stormwater, like how it actually works? Like I see there's a pond, but I don't know where it is, and I'm just curious because there's a lot of comments about stormwater concerns. That seems to be. Just take 30 seconds. I've seen you do it before.
Can you bring that
do it.
overview map up? Yep. So there's a crest of a hill, if you, on the left-hand side, see where Westridge is? About 3 lots in is the crest of the hill. So
Okay.
the first kind of 4 lots drain back to Westridge into the existing system. And like the 2 upper and the street area drains back into Westridge, goes down through the existing system through Westridge and into a pond.
Andrew, can you go up to the screen? Maybe we can
Sure.
probably hear you. Just talk a little louder, just so everyone can show you what you're pointing to and the members of the public.
So there's a ridge right here, right? This area drains this way.
Yeah.
This area drains this way. So the catchment here is collected here, comes down through here into our pond. All of this is today running into these backyards. And this is the concern, is that
Yeah.
there's existing problems, which we're gonna make significantly better, but everybody's worried about that. So we have an open ditch system here with a cross culvert that comes down through this major system. We have a secondary cross culvert here, so open ditch here, with another rear yard swale all the way down through here, and then we have a new pond here. So basically, everything above that line is actually directed here instead of down through these yards. And then this area is what continues to come down through here into the existing Queensberry Drive that's already there.
So what you're saying, the existing water now runs through those people's property out to that main street?
Yeah, so today, a drop of water that hits here comes down across here through these yards.
Yeah, and
into
onto
the
the,
street.
okay, perfect.
Today, we have a complete interceptor system here and a second interceptor system here to take all that water, bring it into this pond, slow it down, control it, bring it out.
Yeah,
and into the
release from the
brook.
pond, controlled release.
And the brook across the street.
In the interceptor system, like you talked about a swale, what is that? Like, I'm just trying, for me and for
So
others to understand.
Here is open ditch along the,
Yep.
along the street, so this is.
A
on the
riprap
upper
type
side
of
is
ditch.
Riprap ditch
Yep.
with cross culverts. On this side is just grass lined, it's only the street. And then down at the bottom, where we just were, down at the bottom is another rock line channel all the way across. Yeah, so you can see that, sorry. That LGSE that's proposed along the bottom. that's
Okay.
that rock line ditch. that
All right.
intercepts here. So this actually is it, so we have a cross culvert here, a second cross culvert here. So anything that's gets missed here comes here, and then all of this comes down through this channel into the pond.
And am I correct in saying, like, you're not just doing pre and post, you're actually doing 120%, like greater
So-
than
So
pre-development?
the recommendation is 100 plus 20 instead, so that, the challenge is that doesn't identify, our changes in storms are not more water, it's more
Right.
intense. So
Right.
100 plus 20 is more water, not more intensity. So we took what you guys use in your capital works projects,
Hmm.
which is scaled to actually 2071, not 2051, with a low to moderate impact, and we ran with that. So this
Okay.
is existing climate data scaled to 2071, which is actually slightly less rain, but a lot more intense.
Yep. And that's our events today. Yep.
Yep.
Perfect, thanks. Appreciate the help.
So Andrew, just based on your comments, and basically what you're doing is taking the natural flow of water after a storm, and you're gonna use storm sewer system to move it, correct?
That's right. So today you have a partially vegetated slope that's running sheet draining down to these rear yards. We're gonna have a series of 2 different spots that intercept all that flow, direct it. That's right. So like in the backyards, you will see a significant reduction in rainfall. Perfect, thanks.
So what's that one over there now, Andrew?
This is just a copy of our design drawings.
Okay.
In case we want to get to a specific page.
Perfect, okay,
But that, like that shows, I don't know if you can see my cursor, yeah, like there's the pond, so we have that collection system down through here,
yes,
second collection system down through here into the pond, and the secondary pond here, and then out across the street into the brook.
okay. Dwight, do you have a question you want to talk about?
Just note, one of the difference between this design and the previous design in terms of stormwater management is that portion of the street that comes off of Queensberry at the 7% grade, which abuts civic number 45, is piped. So you have a pipe system that comes, you have an open ditch system that comes into a pipe system as it makes its way to Queensberry, and then along the front portion of 45 Queensberry, that is piped as well. So that is to obviously address any concerns with the intersection of the flows coming from Queensberry with the flows coming from West Ridge. Now that is into a closed system to bypass or get past that intersection point.
Thank you, Dwight. Brent?
Just a question on the swale system, Andrew. I'm assuming there's enough elevation that it's just gonna be a natural drain. It doesn't need any manipulation as it gets towards the pond to lift it or anything, or?
So I assume you're talking about this one?
Yeah, the swale. Yeah.
So that naturally, if you follow it like where we cut that along, it's about a 3 to 4% slope today. So we just fit the channel in the existing ground and the water follows it. And this is also offset 6 meters from the property line so that we don't disturb trees on the downhill side. There was concerns from neighbors about downhill trees. So we purposely pulled all that uphill.
Thanks, Andrew. Any other questions from members of PAC? Brenda?
Just a quick one. We're talking about Queensberry, but I assume that's going to come down Selkirk also, because that's the ends of Queensberry, or does it bypass that Selkirk portion and get in the brook somehow?
Where's Selkirk?
Just a point of reference, you just pulled up there, Chrissy. Selkirk is here, it's the lower end of Queensberry.
Yeah.
We essentially ran out civic numbers, renamed it, so, yeah, so the question was, does this come out? Does this come out and flow all the way down Queensberry into Selkirk? No, it crosses underneath Queensberry and gets into the existing water course.
So yeah, we're discharging. You can see this water course?
Yeah,
Like that's a brook. We're discharging into this brook.
okay.
At a reduced rate.
So this includes a new pipe across the street into that brook.
Okay.
So yeah, right there. So you can see that there's a huge storm outfall that crosses right here.
Yeah,
We have a new storm outfall coming here. So we're actually taking a fair bit of water out of this channel because we're catching it up here, bringing it down through here, and then putting it back into this channel here, which comes in this existing channel all the way down past the treatment plant.
okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Any further questions for the applicant by members of PAC? Kendall?
There was someone wrote in from 31 Queensberry. I'm just curious if we can bring up 31 Queensberry on the GIS and will 31 Queensberry be below that swale?
Yes. Yeah. So the swale will run right past it. This is 31
Okay,
Queensbury. This swale will run past them and intercept a significant amount of flow that's currently entering their site.
all right, okay, thanks.
Dwight?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the other comment regarding from 31 was with respect to the presence of any water or any wetlands or hydrophobic vegetation. And that is something that obviously we would communicate back to the developer and his consultant team to confirm on ground. But at this particular point, when we review GONB regulated wetlands, there are none in this particular area. Andrew can correct me if I've misspoken.
No, you're correct. I've walked the site as well. I'm a wetland delineator, so I'm allowed to delineate wetlands, and I have not identified any that would be regulated on this site.
Thank you. Brent?
Andrew, question for you, I guess. There is a lot of concern, obviously, about the stormwater from the residents there. What's the developer's plan to roll out the stormwater plan,
So-
right? So is he gonna start at
Yep.
the top, or is he gonna do the swales? It's
So
it's the $1 million question, right?
Yep. He is, we've had a lot of conversations with him about that. He is totally on board with starting at the bottom. He's gonna build the complete swale and storm, like, all of this system that's gonna intercept all that flow, then move up the hill and build the upper ditch along here, and then start building streets and lots. And there's also a mass excavation piece of soil from here has to come here and so on. But the first thing he's gonna do is put in an interceptor swale all the way along the bottom and all the way along the upper side of that street to address the stormwater.
Thank you, Andrew. Any further questions, Kendall?
Actually, this might be a question for staff. Can the engineering department dictate what work they do first? Like, I don't think we have, or maybe we do have that they do the swales first, but I think Andrew is right. They need to do those swales first.
So if I was to comment, I don't know if you can, but our engineering drawings on the ESC sheet state the order of work is all swales must be completed and approved, and then begin mass excavation on the site. And he's like, but he's already voluntarily brought that one forward. Like,
Okay.
he's going to do it.
White, any comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So our recommendations, obviously, to any of these developments is to deal with stormwater before you start putting in streets and any sort of mass excavation. We can include such language into conditions of approvals with respect to development permits or development agreements through the process. Any work that would be undertaken in this particular project, any project in terms of subdivision development, you're required to get a development permit. That development permit is subject to terms and conditions, which we can obviously rely on any instructions on the engineering design drawings. Those engineering design drawings have to be submitted and approved by the engineering department prior to the issuing of development permit for the work. I think that's important to note. I do appreciate the feedback that we received from the Woodley Park residents. Their concerns are absolutely valid, and I think we have to recognize that the developer, giving the time period that this has been ongoing, I think it in reflection of there is an appetite to make sure that this gets developed, if it gets developed, if it's approved in the proper manner in terms of there's been no excavation in terms of in there starting the work without appropriate approvals, which it is private property, and in some situations, unfortunately, we have incurred those in the town where developers go in and they're hacking and whacking and slashing and doing work, and unfortunately the damage is done. So I think it's important to recognize there's respect of the concerns of the residents as well as what staff is trying to achieve through this process in working with the engineers and the developers consultants, which was obviously reflection of the motion of council in August, which has brought us to this point. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it seems like the engineering group and the contractor is doing a good job from the 10 minutes that I understand from Andrew, but I didn't mean anything by the comment, but it's sometimes nice to just have a few requirements in there, but I'll leave that up to staff.
Thank you, Kendall. Brent?
Question regarding future development, Andrew. I guess if the developer proceeds west, keeps going down Selkirk, is that retention pond gonna be big enough? Or is this, I guess my question is, are we looking further down the road as it develops further down Selkirk? The retention pond we have there now can do that job, or is that a totally separate? I guess, can you tie back in, or do we need to?
So this finishes this area of the development, right? So if we went somewhere else to start a new development, or like another phase of the development, some other undeveloped area, it's gonna need its own system to, like, there's no questions, Queensbury has existing stormwater problems. As a separate exercise, we were working with the town on looking at some downstream fixes, but that's not really related to this development. This development's actually fixing this area. Or reducing this area. There's other problems that also need to be addressed, but they're kind of outside the scope of this development. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. Any other questions for the applicant? Anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Please come up, state your name for the record, please.
My name's Rick Hicks,
Okay. Where you located at, Rick?
43 Queensberry Drive.
Okay.
So I'm speaking to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go right ahead.
I was going to say, I'm speaking tonight on behalf of my wife, Paulette Hicks, and myself, again, 43 Queensberry Drive. Appreciate the opportunity to once again voice our concerns about the proposed subdivision application. I had a completely different presentation prepared until Paulette and I read Mr. Colburn's staff report to the PAC. I much preferred the original presentation, but it addressed a couple of procedural matters and, more importantly, specifics on repeated risks brought forward that, in our opinion, seem to continue to be ignored. So the core of for existing Queensberry residents' concerns center on stormwater management, potential flooding, property erosion, and possible water shortages. That was new. I saw that in Mr. Colburn's report. As a 25-plus year resident of 43 Queensberry, we haven't routinely documented these issues that we face, but we did capture some photos during a heavy rainstorm back in 2008 that illustrate the rapid, dangerous conditions in the ditches. I'd like to share 4 photos with the committee, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please start over.
Yeah, I brought.
Let the white have a view of them too.
Okay, yeah, I'll start. So this was back in 2008. This is the ditch in front of our house. You can see the flow. I mentioned in the previous meeting that I actually took down our light posts because when I put it up probably 15 years ago, it was at 90 degrees. And now I'm going to guess, before I took it down, it probably had a slant of 30 degrees because our whole front lawn is falling into the ditch. There's so much erosion that everything is falling into the ditch. So let's examine the proposed street grade reduction from 12% to 10%, which staff endorses. The staff report details the PAC's authority under the Community Planning Act for variances and general consideration, but omits specifics on best practices or risks highlighted by experts, including affected residents. For instance, there's no discussion of increased water velocities on steep grades, which can exacerbate erosion and safety issues. This oversight, in my opinion, seems to favor the developer's perspective. Reducing the grade from 12% to 10% doesn't alter the site's topography. This doesn't resolve the excess slope. It simply reallocates the steepest part of the street and it relocates it down to the bottom of the street where Queensberry and Westridge will intersect, increasing hazards for vehicles and pedestrians. The report notes the Kennebecasis Valley Fire Department's ability to handle fires on grades over 8%, albeit with challenges like delays in water supply and ladder truck limitations. These will exist for summer conditions. So if they do in summer conditions, what about winter conditions common in our region? Could amplify dangers due to icy roads and reduced accessibility. I was surprised there was nothing mentioned. It was mentioned about the water and the ladder trucks, but no mention of being able to even get up a road with that grade. Again, it's not like you've got a long street that's going from flat to 8 degrees where you can get a run. here, you actually got to take a right angle to get up that street so you're starting from scratch with these heavy vehicles. Regarding existing Quispamsis streets with grades over 8%, the report references them without clarifying their stormwater setups. As I understand it, many of these streets, which were built many years ago, run off into the Kennebecasis River, unlike the ditches, which already overflow during heavy rains. Again, note the photos. In conclusion, should the committee advance this proposal amid unresolved risks and variances, Paulette and I would no doubt be disappointed. Our homes are our most significant investment, and I urge you to consider whether you'd feel secure in our position with these uncertainties lingering. Again, look at the pictures. This was in 2008. I'm a little bit, I missed one here. I'm a little bit baffled by, there was a change, and I think this is a good change. The best practices for roads are no greater than 8 degrees, right? 8% grade. We're at 10, which is an improvement from 12, but the question that's still, the good thing I think is the best case or the best practice is to have in-ground piping, not ditches. And I'm not sure why this is not being done all the way down West Ridge, but what they're doing now from what was included in the report is they're going to do in-ground just after lot 13. So my question is, why would you do in-ground from lot 13 down West Ridge, where it's actually starting to less of a grade? Why wouldn't you do the whole thing? And again, I've done my research. I've checked whether it's Halifax, whether it's Fredericton. There's a, what is it, the Canadian, there's an institute that again talks about this stuff and gives best practices, and they say above 6 degrees you should have in-ground piping. So I'm left wondering, why are we not doing it that way? I can only guess that it's financial, but I don't know that. So I guess that's really all I'm going to say. It's still concerning to me. I know that we've got all of this modeling that's being put forward, but I don't know, the chances of us having a neighbor whose occupation is, her expertise is stormwater management. And she explained to me that some of the modeling is not using the right data, or data that she would suggest is proper. And there's been a bunch of questions that she's asked that she's not been able to get answers to. So I'm just very uneasy. I appreciate the presentation. And as a resident of 25 years, we have a problem, and I'm glad to hear that it looks like there's going to be somebody's going to look at Queensberry Drive and the infrastructure, because it's inadequate. And I'm just not comfortable, given all of the unanswers, that we're not going to be at risk of continued or increased flooding chances and or erosion. So thank you for listening to me, and appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Toole, you want to come back up to the podium? Anything you want to address there, Andrew?
So I think the big one that I can address is the why it's open ditch and about this pipe. So the pipe, if I can go over here, the pipe they're talking about is from here to here. We have a limited right of way, 20 meters. The profile here is higher than the lot on either side. So we definitely don't want to ditch up above people that could potentially wash out, flood down onto people. That's the whole reason this is piped. The reason this is open ditch is this is a very different situation than every other situation. Our number one priority is not to let water get here. So with a pipe system on steep areas, we put curbs beside it, we direct the water, the overflow goes down the road. So the failure is down the road, which is the last thing we want to happen. So if we switch to a pipe system, we can almost guarantee some storm event, especially in the winter, is gonna wind up with all your water right there, coming down your ditch right here and in your basements, guaranteed. So we're doing everything we can to take it in open ditches, get it off the road. We have to get it off the road. And the challenge is with a graded system, even with curbs, there will be times where that plugs and it goes down. And we will have better success with open ditches. So this is not about trying to save money. This is about trying not to let the water end up here coming into your basements. The challenge with the 10% is we can't reconfigure this. This is phase 29 of 29. All these other phases are done. I can't go redraw this concept plan to put roads parallel to the contours like they should have been drawn years ago. This was the standard that was in place at the time when this development started, and we're here now. This is kind of our only option.
Thank you, Andrew. Dwight?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make a couple of comments. One is related regarding the data that's being used, concerns or questions about whether we're using the right data, whether we're using data from climate data that's relative to emission standards, and if we're applying that to this particular development. Obviously, we appreciate that feedback. We appreciate the knowledge and the sharing of that, and we more appreciate the fact of identifying as a municipality where we need to move to. The key item to note here, as I mentioned when I introduced this item, is our current standard is 1 and 100 year. Nothing about scaling to climate data, nothing about 1 and 120%. It's 1 and 100 years. So the concerns that have been expressed are noted. The concerns that have been expressed are being worked on. We have clearly identified that in 2026, we are aiming to adopt our design criteria and obviously introduce mitigation and measures and guidance and specs that are reflective of the change in climate and the impacts that it have. So when these particular items come before engineering and staff, we have to review them against the standard that is currently in place. That is the authority by which we can review and offer recommendations. As I mentioned earlier, it's 1 in 100 is what's in the subdivision specifications. The recommendation from engineering to all developers is recognizing that we should at least move the needle to 1 in 100 plus 20%. We recommend that developers and their consultant engineers make reference to the City of St. John Design Criteria Manual in the absence of one in Quispamsis at the moment. We are moving to that. So those concerns have been shared. The information has been shared. It's been noted. However, we have to review it based on the current standard that we have and the practices that we use. Regarding my staff report, there was a comment and sort of a point of order is that the staff report is not presented in the favor of a developer or in the best interest of whether this reduces cost. The information that's been provided is provided to staff in an unbiased manner. It's provided in my interpretation of the bylaws and the specifications. And what's been presented to staff is that, yes, the standard says 6% you pipe it. However, we have to look at the design that's been presented. Does the design in terms of open ditches, rip wraps, in the end, provide a solution that mitigates downstream impacts of stormwater management? And in this particular case, what's been presented in the design brief and the guidance is that there's a reduction in the stormwater that's leaving this site compared to as it sits today. That is the end goal based on the standards that we follow. That's what we have to measure towards. So I do, and I will say, I do take exception to the fact of being stated that the report is put forward in a manner to favor an applicant, which is completely inaccurate. As I mentioned before, given the time and the effort that's been put into this to make sure that situations are addressed, I think it's the fact that we're still here and there's nothing happening on that site as a respect of there's nothing moving forward until the concerns are addressed in a reasonable manner. So I do take exception to that comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. And Mr. Toole, if I recollect, the 1 in 100's what the town did, but you went above that with,
Yeah.
and followed the city of St. John's standard.
Not quite. So 1 in 100 is Quispamsis.
Yes,
The 1 in 100 plus 20 comes from DTI. That's
Yes.
their recommendation, which scales quantity, not intensity.
yep,
The
okay,
city of St. John also follows 1 in 100. The city of St. John on capital works projects has started using a scaled data set. They started just this year, scaled to climate data to 2070. So it uses more current data and scales it for intensity to 27 based on climate, 2071 based on climate data. So that's the data set we've used, which is kind of in this region, the
Above and
most
beyond, yeah.
rigorous
okay,
that we can use,
okay.
which is quite significantly more rigorous for sizing the pond and sizing the infrastructure than just 1 in 100.
Thank you for that clarification. And one thing I did forget, is there any other folks online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? None being, any further discussion from PAC members with the applicant or members of the town? And again, we're approving a tentative subdivision plan, correct, Dwight?
PAC is making recommendations regarding the tentative plan with respect to the streets as they've been proposed, as well as the land for public purposes, which in this case is a strip of land at the end of the court, 287 square meters. As noted in my staff report, there is already a land bank credit that's applicable to this particular area because it was part of a larger PID from which the stormwater pond in the upper portion under phase 28 was provided to the town. So there is a land credit that can be applied to this particular development. That is in keeping with the Community Planning Act. One last comment through you. I do want to make a comment regarding the procedural that's would have been noted and provided to PAC. The Community Planning Act provides that the advisory committee or development officer, when it comes to the variances, may provide notice to residents. So the key factor is may. The policy of PAC is that in terms of subdivision developments, PAC will provide notice. So we followed that policy. The time frame for the deliver of that notice is based on recommendations from the Planning Appeal Board is that 7 days prior to the meeting that the residents receive the notice. In this particular case, the notice was hand-delivered on November the 28th, Friday, to provide 7 days in advance of the meeting. The notice isn't that in and of itself. It's to give notice that there is an application going before the Planning Advisory Committee, which gives the residents the opportunity to attend a meeting to express concerns. We tried to provide information to highlight what's being asked of the Planning Advisory Committee, which was indicated in the staff report. In the notice that was sent in this particular case, it was indicated that if they wish to review the engineering design drawings or if they had any questions, to please feel free to contact the town to discuss them. The notice also indicated that any written concerns or comments should be received by the town by Friday, December the 5th, if I remember correctly, so they could be included in the PAC package. That did not mean that any other concerns that came in would not be forwarded to the PAC. It was simply to provide with PAC with the most information that was received up until to that point to be included in the package so they could review. The process does not exclude the ability to come before the Planning Advisory Committee. Even if you have not submitted a written concern to the town, you still have the right and the ability to come and speak on behalf and express your concerns. Even as we've gone through to this stage tonight, if the Planning Advisory Committee still requires additional information or there's concerns that they feel that I would like to have a little more information before I move forward, PAC has that authority to say, thank you for your subdivision application, and however, we have XYZ, we would like more information. So it's an opportunity for staff to present the applications, for the developer and their team to present their side of it, as well as hear concerns from residents, prior to PAC making recommendations regarding the application as it moves forward to council. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dwight, for clearing up that information and providing some guidance and support to members of the public and everyone around the PAC table. With that being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions? Brent?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that PAC consider the granting of the street grade variance based on the overall subdivision design to the PAC grant lot width variance as indicated in the staff report for lots 6-8 and 20. 3, the PAC consider acceptance of the street layout and design for phase 29. 4, the PAC granted variance to section 6E2 of subdivision bylaw 035 for the use of rock line ditches as an alternative to in-ground pipe system for street grades more than 6% as the proposed design meets intent of the subdivision bylaw. 5, the PAC considers the proposed LPP lands in phase 29 and the use of the LPP land back in credit from phase 2 to satisfy the LPP obligations from Woodley Park phase 29. And 6, as discussed with the developer's representative, that the wastewater management will take place prior to any construction, and the swale will be phase 1 of the stormwater plan.
Thank you, Brent. Can I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further debate on that motion? Dwight, you okay with that, what we talked about?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a clarification, the motion that was read, when stated that PAC give consideration to. So for point of clarification, is PAC granting the variance, or they're just simply giving consideration to, just so we're clear in terms of recommendations as they're brought forward? Thank you.
Approving the variances.
Thank you. Okay, Kendall?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other debate in that motion? None being, we have a vote, please.
Mr. Chairman, Mark here. I support this motion.
Thank you. Thank you. That motion's been carried unanimously. Mr. Toole, you have your notice in the mail next 5 or 7 business days. Please work with the town, have all necessary documentation, paperwork in place, and hopefully that this phase will help nullify any issues in that area for the existing subdivision, and further development on the existing conditions get looked at, which we were privy to during previous meetings. Thank you. Mr. Hicks, would you like your pictures? Thank you. That being, we'll move on to item 7B, 355 Hampton Road. Mr. Jarvis, you on your way? Jennifer? Oh, sorry, Mark and Brent can't be, can they be sitting in the seats if they want to listen? They can be.
They have to vacate their seat, but they
Yes.
can sit in the seats, yes.
And Mr. Goslin, he's off too, right? Because he wasn't there.
That's correct.
Mark, you can't participate in this discussion.
I understand. Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, Jennifer, you're up.
So through you, Mr. Chair, regarding 355, as PAC remembers, the last time we met, there was a request to support council in amending a development agreement for 355 Hampton Road. The PAC chose not to support. However, the notice of decision didn't provide a reason as to why it was not being supported. So we are looking for clarification on that. And the clerk is also looking for clarification. There was a condition, the second condition, which stated the subject lot shall be placed on Service New Brunswick Land Gazette, advising that any new landowner will require to enter into a new development agreement with the town for any use in excess of a single or two-family dwelling. They were looking for clarification on that as well. What I can advise you about that is that we did have legal counsel review that and was found to be acceptable, an acceptable term and condition. The reason that it was placed there is because in the existing development agreement that's being requested to be amended, there is a condition in it that does state that a new development agreement would be required from any new landowner. So that's why this condition was placed there. So I think we just need to provide that clarity to the council in order for them to move the file forward. I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're saying, is that zone commercial now?
The zoning is neighborhood commercial, which is
Okay.
a little more limited than a regular commercial lot in that it's sort of a bridge between a residential area and commercial. So it's a little
So-
less intensive.
So was a recommendation from staff to move that back to private or residential?
No, there's no speak of rezoning or
I
anything.
thought that was in the last, how'd that come into our play then?
Of the other condition, it's that it was actually a condition in the existing development agreement. I just wanted to bring it to light so it would end up on the Land Gazette. So any person who is interested in purchasing the property would be aware that there was that condition.
Okay, so we can leave it as it is though.
Just with an explanation. They're just wanting some clarity around.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, current members of PAC, want to have any questions? Brent?
Mr. Chairman, I made the motion at the last meeting. The reason for the motion as it was is basically we had a developers agreement in place that we made in 2021, I'm assuming. I know it was during COVID. And we tried to work with the property owner. And basically, we knew he was in the process of selling his business, so as a PAC. And I made the motion that night also. We structured the motion so that he had 9 months. So basically, we met in February or March. He had to the end of that year to complete his transaction because that's what he informed us of. And basically, he was, whatever happened at the end of that calendar year, he was to meet with the developer. Sorry, he was to meet with the development officer and enter into a new development agreement with the town, whether it was himself or the company that was buying his company and the property per se. That did not happen. So basically, I agreed with what Jennifer prepared, saying that anybody buying this property now has to be aware that the development agreement doesn't exist on that property, and a new development property will have to be entered with the town. And because the development agreement was in place, basically, that's the other reason why the building the sea cans and the storage building had to be removed as part of the condition. Because there's nothing in place as per requested by the town and the PAC back in 21 or 22, whenever it was.
Okay, thank you. Brenda, you want to add something?
Yeah. My big thing is, we know that was built without a building permit. And the town went and handed a letter to stop. They didn't stop. They just built building faster and faster. And the town staff was working very hard to stop that, but it continued. Now, the town council is not supporting their own staff with what they're trying to do to keep this town looking good and presentable, and people getting building permits to do things. This was where thins with me, is the fact that that's a lot of work that staff went through. And they're just, to put bluntly, town council is not supporting their own staff. That annoys me. And I want that in whatever you put in the letter to count. Big areas, you don't support your own staff. They tried to stop, and we know there are things that have been built without building permits, right? We have to stop that. There has to be a way to stop. And annoyed, with town council, support the staff. That's just me.
No, thank you, Brenda. I think that was some clear items that came out of that, because he did the work without a permit, came in, said, yeah, he admitted that here in front of us all, yeah, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. They went and put a stop work, continued to work, put a stop worker on it, and he still continued to work. Then in the agreement, we had that it had to be addressed by the end of the calendar year and removed once he sold the property. That's in the agreement. And he still, during that whole period of time, he admitted at the other night that he's still trying to sell it to someone else so they can have a business in that. A landscaping company, trying to sell it to someone with a landscaping company to keep that same property in effect. So, I probably don't have any word, but I'm kind of supportive of this, that we, what we're doing, we have to continue to just address our concerns in that document back to council, and I think that supports PAC, what our concerns are. Just, it's why do we even exist? Why isn't the building people even exist then, if that's gonna happen, allow people to do whatever they want? There are rules and guidelines in place that, people are supposed to follow, and probably honestly, there are some people that may not aware of it. This person was 100% afterward aware of it and still continued to work, even though he had a stop work order. He could at least came to the town and said, hey, here's what's going on, and work with them, but that didn't happen.
I agree, so.
I don't know if we have enough wording there to formulate something, Leah.
And what message are they,
Yeah.
council sending? Do whatever you want
And that's up to,
and come back.
after this date now, it's up to town council. I think as long as we address their concerns, and maybe Leanne, maybe you can read it if you get it done, so we can make sure it's right. Let us know when you're ready. Yep. Don't want to put you on but it'd be nice to hear, I just want to make sure that we get, that staff and us are comfortable with, that the wording makes sense, that council's gonna accept. We're not gonna come back again at the end of the day.
Okay.
Go ahead, okay.
The PAC does not support the amendment to the development agreement for 355 Hampton Road for the following reasons. The property owner did not follow the terms and conditions set by the PAC to return in 12 months to meet with the town to enter into a new development agreement. A stop work permit was issued and ignored by the owner, and the PAC feels the council isn't supporting town staff by considering granting the amendment. And the Land Gazette posting is to make the new property owner aware that a development agreement will be required.
Can we go back to line 1?
Yep.
Okay, so just read out again, Leanne, please.
Sorry?
Read number 1.
Just read number
The
1.
property owner did not follow the terms and conditions set by the PAC to return in 12 months to meet with the town to enter into a new development agreement.
Right, but we need to record there also is that PAC worked with the property owner because we knew he was in the process of selling his business, and he didn't know whether they were buying his business or the business in the property. So we gave him a 9-month.
Oh, extension?
We gave him a 9-month grace period
Okay.
to fulfill the sale, complete the sale of his business. At the end of that calendar year, he was to come back to the town and meet with the development officer and proceed with the new development agreement,
Okay.
which he did not fulfill.
We may want to check, I'm not sure if Jennifer and Dwight or someone can check those dates, just make sure those dates are correct on that, because it's probably going to go somewhere. Jennifer?
Did you want me to do that right now, or is that something that we can do in the morning and then send it to the PAC for?
You
Yeah, you can do that later, just verify the dates that we want to.
Sure.
When the dates get written, if they're wrong,
Exactly.
we just kind of make sure that it's correct.
Okay, we will do that.
He got a letter to stop too.
Yeah, put that date, stop work order. Is that anything Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to word.
You can wordsmith it and let us know, right?
Yeah,
Wordsmith it and let us know.
I will add a
want me to
9-month
wordsmith it
grace.
for you?
A 9-month grace period was granted by the PAC. Yes,
To allow him,
to allow him to.
the sale of the property or the
property.
sale of the property and or business. Business and or property.
Yes.
Business and or property. Yes. Dwight, are you okay where we're heading? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of do. I just want to make sure we're okay with the wording, trying to get put together, and will you have a look at that with Jennifer and make sure we're good for a response back to council?
So it is, through you, Mr. Chair, it is PAC providing clarification in terms of the reason why.
Yes.
So, that has to be a clear motion of PAC.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Brent.
I have a question. Is this something on a go-forward basis that every decision we make, that PAC is gonna, or sorry, town council is gonna ask for a reasoning behind the motion or or do we have to justify every decision we make to council now?
Yes. Every decision should be, through you, Mr. Chair, every decision should have something qualifying it. Just simply in the
reason.
case that there's an appeal or something of that matter, that there's a reason given, that it can be not misconstrued, you know, if this is your reason, it's there. So yes, going forward, we're gonna need.
So maybe we can, as a reminder in some of these sometime, maybe we can say complete and also include reasoning. So while we're here, we can
Sure.
do that. Does that make sense for members of PAC? I don't think there's no motion required here, is there? We just agree? Dwight?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Brent.
Read back what we've kind of hinted.
The PAC does not support the amendment to the development agreement for 355 Hampton Road, PID 30220644 and 00250-787 for the following reasons. The property owner did not follow the terms and conditions set by the PAC to return in 12 months. A 9-month grace period was then granted by the PAC to allow him to deal with the sale of the business and or property, and he was to return to meet with the with the town to enter into a new development agreement. 2, a stop work order permit was issued and ignored by the owner, and the PAC feels the council isn't supporting town staff by considering granting the amendment. And 3, the Land Gazette posting is to make sure the new property owner is aware that a development agreement will be required.
Can we all have a seconder on that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that you stand with the decision that was made at the November 25th meeting, and we add to that motion with the 3 comments that were added to justify, or, sorry, not justify that, the reasoning behind the decision that was made by the PAC at the 25th of November meeting.
Thank you, Brent. Can I have a seconder on that? Brenda?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Mark? All in agreement? Do we need to vote that? I don't think it's a voting item. You made a motion? Let's have a vote then.
Make it legal.
I will have to mark Kendall and Mark as conflict.
No,
Yeah,
no, they're not in conflict.
they're out. No, just have to put them out. That motion's carried unanimously with our reasoning behind our decision on previous meeting. Thank you. That being, move on to item 8. You're welcome back in, gentlemen. we're good. Let's wait till they sit down for a second. We'll move on to item 8, information items and discussion items, none being. Move on to item 9. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Brenda?
So moved.
Brent?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting has been adjourned for till January of 2026.
Next
Please log off your iPad.